Good morning, members of Fierce Leader Group. Let me put you like here. Right. Welcome back for those who are regular watcher, and welcome to those who are new and seeing this video as the first one of a series. I want to continue the videos, the 60 days videos I'm doing, and so I want to bring to light today something around vulnerability that I've been reflecting on. When the paradox in the job I'm doing and in mediations I can conduct is that usually we see people that are in conflict and being very defensive. And so we may think that because they're showing so defensive, that they're actually blocking everything. They're not feeling weak. They want to be the strongest. It's like basically the lion just stating they're gonna have the strongest opinion, they're gonna have the last word, they're gonna have the most impactful idea. Or there is this block where it feels a lot like very much a contraction, where you try to open up someone and it's like, no, I stay strong and tight. No, open up a little bit. No, I stay strong and tight. The paradox lies in the fact that usually those are the people who feel the most vulnerable. And so I start to observe a pattern where you have usually people being very much defensive, being very much solid in their position, not wanting to be flexible, are actually the same people who are feeling the most vulnerable if they show flexibility, if they open up. And so I feel beyond the capacity as, mediator, peacemaker, guide, mentor, to be able to help and guide people toward an outcome, toward a resolution, we also need to understand their vulnerability and their feeling that if they show vulnerability, they're not safe. And so I would like to emphasize on the safe space we create whenever we work with people in therapy, in mentorship, in coaching, in teaching. We create a safe space where people can see it's safe for me to feel vulnerable. It's safe for me to make a mistake. It's safe for me to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Because they're here to process, to either do a learning process, to do a healing process, to do a resolving process. And so we're guiding them through that process. And I feel it's important for them to feel safe along the process. So what does that mean is that when someone feels unsafe, if they feel triggered in their vulnerability, then they're gonna tighten up, they're gonna close. And then to open up, that means they need to feel safe enough that they can express what they think and what they feel. So that's the first layer on an observation. Now, the tricky part is another layer, a deeper layer. Sometimes it's enough for people to be in a space, see that the person guiding them seems fine and respectful and kind, to open up. The atmosphere of the space, let's say, seems enough for people to open. And usually I see it in mediation when the people who are in that situation are usually those that once I did the introductory statement and I let them tell me their story, they tell me everything. They open up literally on everything, how they feel, what happened. And so usually they just need the reassurance that where they are right now at this point in time is a safe space. And so this is gonna be the way I bring up the space, the way I do the introduction, the way my body speaks, the way my words speaks. And there is other people that seem to open up, but they don't. And this you realize more or less sooner when you start to dive deeper and they kind of stay in their position. It's like going forth and back. Like, we're not going anywhere. So what do you want? And I feel usually those are people who are feeling unsafe in a space, not necessarily because the space doesn't feel safe, but because it raises emotions they're feeling unsafe to feel. So for example, if someone or if someone feels a lot of anger because it's been months or years that the cases has been going on, the situation has been going on, the conflict, the dispute, the problem has been going on. Now they have the chance to talk and say what they think about it, but the space may be fine. And so that's why at the beginning they feel it feels to us, they open up. What happens is that as soon as it goes deeper into emotional layers, which is even in cases like when I handle business dispute, we don't necessarily dive into emotion. However, we never disregard emotions because emotions are what led to the conflict. And so even if we don't dive deeper like we would do in a personal conflict, family conflict, we would still address more or less some of the emotional layer. Now, if they're not safe, it's been months and years, they felt frustrated and they felt confused and they felt annoyed, and all this compounded to anger. And then they start to feel angry. And then angry even more and more and more. And that became like this big compounded angry feeling that they just didn't know how to process it, didn't learn how to process it, just don't know what to do with it. So what happens is that once they arrive in a space where they're having the literally the space and time to speak up, it kind of triggers that anger. Now the tricky thing is, if that person learned, which is mostly majority of people in this time in human history, if that person learned that displaying anger in a public setting is not a good thing, it has consequences, it has bad consequences, it can be a rejection because people are gonna judge you, or it can trigger a lot of things like that because the person learned anger equal rejection, judgment from others, bad opinion, overall bad thing, bad consequences. So this person is not gonna trust him or herself to display the anger, and so it's going to look like I close up, because the inner conflict that arises at that point is too much. It's like, I'm so angry, but I can't show I'm so angry because I need to be polite and respectful, but I'm so angry. And so many people actually close up at that point. The question of safety, emotional safety, is highly important in those situations. Now, the other thing is also because this anger has been compounded. The frustration, the disappointment, anger, all this has been compounded. If now we can actually say either, now here is a safe space, just let it go, like go wild, be angry, because the compounded anger creates an explosion. And literally, when someone suddenly feels they're safe enough to be angry, it goes in all the different directions, and then it's like imprevisible and uncontrollable. So what can be very useful is, when we have a situation like that, is actually having, if we know we're gonna have discussion that may raise some intense feeling like anger, it's to have a pre-discussion separately with the person. What kind of feeling do you think this discussion could bring up? Do you have maybe a soothing technique or something, a way you process this emotion? So having a preparation phase. And if it's not possible, then the most important thing is gonna be to stay grounded and respond to intensity with calmness. All while intensity with groundness, responding to intensity with groundness, so being grounded, all while acknowledging and validating their emotion. Because it may very well be the case that as soon as you say, you're allowed to feel so angry, I get that, then the person is gonna back up and say, oh, really? Because when a child is not allowed to be angry, and we display a lot of anger and we tell the child, stop doing that, it's not good, stop doing that, then the anger is still somewhere, and then it boils inside, and then what happens? Inner conflict, compounded feelings kept inside, and then the next thing that triggers it, explosion, and then vicious circle. Don't do that, it's not good. And then explosion, and that's kind of this pattern happening. And so when we let the person say, okay, it's okay, validate it, like, I would also be angry if I were you, then the person doesn't have to repress the intensity of the emotion, doesn't have to keep it for him or herself, and so then it's gonna be able to express it. And then the way it's been expressed is emotional management and communication, but it's another thing. But at least it's gonna be able to be expressed and to get out there. I wanted to talk about that because accepting vulnerability is a big piece of relationships. And I feel it will be probably another topic for another video, but I feel actually when we experience pain, physical, mental, or emotional, it's actually a gateway to go toward support with each other, to accept situations, to be more present with each other, with ourselves, but with each other as well, and to understand that we need each other. And so I feel that the actual society right now is very much oriented on individualism and being strong no matter what, like working hard, doing the things no matter what, not being weak. And this leads to disregarding completely elderly people that have a genuine transmission to offer, and focusing on the 20s, your 20-something years old people who show this strong impulse of the youth, the strong youth. And it creates slogan like in a fitness world, we have a lot of slogan like that. Like there is a lot of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or things like that. And it creates things like that people get a brain of, I'm gonna be strong no matter what, I'm gonna beat it, and I'm gonna be the one. And it doesn't leave any room for vulnerability, but vulnerability is what brings people together to connect with each other. And when we go toward individualism, we go actually toward isolation, where if we feel we don't need people, we lie to ourselves. If we feel we don't need people, we're identifying ourselves with something based on ego and illusion, I believe. And so pain, no matter the form of the pain, feels to me something that is a gateway to bring people back together, to get people to understand we need each other. I'll let you on that. I wish you a very good day. The newsletter will be back in September, and I talk to you soon. Bye.